Welcome to Live, Let, Thrive, a podcast about the Airbnb life, the share economy, and everything in between. Here are your hosts, Micah and Steve.
Hello.
And welcome back to another exciting episode
Of Live,
Let
Thrive. What is up, Micah, man?
I am chilling, Stevie Stacks. Just got back from a little vacay, but I'm chilling. How you doing?
Oh, good, man. A little under the weather. My daughter passed a little sickness around the house, got it from school, I guess. And so we all got it. I was the last man standing, and I finally got it. But I'm powering through. It's gonna be my Michael Jordan flu game, so I'll be good. This is episode, by the way, 225 of your favorite Airbnb, VRBO, HomeAway, Uber, Lyft, all that share economy fun stuff in the world, coming at you from Arlington and Fort Worth, Texas. Deuce and a quarter episode, Micah.
Let's go to Deuce and a quarter.
And we have a special guest.
Ooh, a special guest. Who we got today, Stevie Stacks?
Who do we got? You know, we asked him for a bio, and he said, "You guys know me." That's how you know he's a big time, when he says, "You know me." I ain't got to put no bio. Anyways, I'll make a bio for you. He is the host of Airbnb Automated, a YouTube channel all about the STR, short-term rental industry, specifically the arbitrage model, with over 222,000 subscribers. He runs the Facebook page, the hosts of Airbnb Automated, with over 46,000 subscribers. He's a guru, he's a leader, he's a teacher, a business, a motivational speaker, a wealth of information in the STR world. He gives away tons of information for freaking free, and he's fucking ripped and never misses leg day. He's the GOAT. He's motherfucking Sean Rakidzich. Welcome. Rakidzich. I got it close. I was like, man, I just doing a good intro, and then there you go. It's hard. His name is hard to say, but his game is hard to play, and he plays it well.
Oh, that was really smooth. Actually, it was really smooth. Good job.
Thank you, man.
Thanks for having me.
How you doing, Sean?
Doing really well, actually. That's so cool to be on your Deuce and a Quarter.
Deuce and a quarter.
Inaugural Deuce and a Quarter podcast.
Looks like you're in outer space. There's like a champagne supernova behind you.
Oh, I painted that.
It was like it.
Yeah.
Cool. And he's an artist too, guys. Yeah. So if you haven't heard of Sean, you've been living in a cave. He's the GOAT. He's the short-term rental GOAT, the arbitrage guy. And we're so happy to have you on the show to drop some knowledge.
Yes.
Yeah. Totally. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah. I guess real quick, just a brief synopsis of how you started in this world. I mean, we all kind of know it, but yeah, for the people that
I said you guys know me because you're my friends. I didn't mean to like be all try to like
I know. We're just messing with you.
like you guys. When I started my Airbnb business, it was my third significant business. At the time, I was running a newspaper media consultancy. Basically, newspapers are dying. They have been for a while. And I was working with the Houston Chronicle, helping them reach millennials. And so I was hiring sales guys and relocating them to Houston. And I had a bunch of apartments in a high rise. And then they moved out, relocated to other markets as we expanded. And then all of a sudden, I had like 3 empty apartments that I was paying rent on. So I was like, I'm going to put these on Airbnb. And that's going to be the way I'm going to cover my rent. That's 2014. And that's how I got started. It's very fast.
I've seen some of your videos on how you got your start. And what was pretty cool about, like you said, you're bringing in people to Houston, to work for you and putting them in year-long leases. And even though you were only signing them for a few months, you were just hoping that they would stay. So it was like a happy accident, whatever they say, a happy mistake, because you were stuck with these empty units you were paying for. And then, so what got you to decide to say, hey, I'm going to try this Airbnb thing?
So the Airbnb thing was just because it's the nearest reach. I tried to put like an executive in one of my apartments for like a month-to-month corporate housing, and I just failed at it. So Airbnb at the time was really the lowest barrier to entry to get that thing full without knowing what you're doing, because knowing how to do corporate housing still requires a little skill. So it was really just low-hanging fruit, and then that was it. I didn't take it seriously though for a couple of years. I had my 3 apartments with people doing Airbnb. I was making money, but I was still thinking that my other business was going to be like my big thing. And then the year that Houston hosted the Super Bowl, where the Falcons were up like 21-0 in the first quarter, remember that? That was the year that I knew I was going to do like Airbnb because there's going to be so much money in the game. So I picked up like 6 more apartments. I had 10 by that February and made like 15 grand in a weekend net profit. And I'm like, all right, this is it.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So you were doing it. Were you under the radar at the time? You weren't telling the complex you were doing it?
Well, here's the thing. At the time, 2014, there was no lease language that you could not list on lodging websites, nothing like that, right? And since my leases were under my LLC, there was actually a very fine loophole at the time where the only thing that prevented the business maybe was a no subletting clause. But since my LLC did not have a declared occupant on my LLCs, anybody who's staying in the occupant, it wasn't a sublease because the LLC is almost like a shell occupant and the human inside was the true occupant. So it wasn't technically subletting by many interpretations of contract law. So for 2 or 3 years, like I just told people I'm a company, I'm gonna sign some lease, I'm gonna put some people in here, and I didn't have to say Airbnb or not. And every time a leasing agent called me and said, you can't do this, I'm like, well, actually, let me educate you on the leases. And then like end of 2017, we started to see like anti-Airbnb language. 2018, we started to see anti-Airbnb languages in the Texas TAA lease.
Okay. Now, are you still picking up arbitrage units? And then not only are you picking them up, like with rents going up, how are you combating that to make yourself still viable in the Airbnb space?
Rents aren't going up. Rents are coming back down again, actually.
Finally.
But over the last 4 months, everything went up. Everything was nuts. Yeah. So we just picked up 55 doors in Houston over the last couple of months. We're picking up 20 in Austin. Right now, we're picking up 20 in Waco. We're working on a deal here in Dallas for something in the teens. I can't say exactly how many, and we got a deal in Philadelphia we're working on too. So yeah, we're picking up them like they're going out of style because landlords are finally calling us back and they're giving us free rent, which is like a big part of our strategy. It's going well.
Now, I see you're picking them up in Houston, and Houston has been like, if you ever go into like a Houston group, everyone's like throwing furniture out the window. Let's get the hell out of here. So what are you doing to make sure you're still viable in that market?
We're actually picking up stuff in the suburbs. We're not doing inner loop properties yet. Give us 6 more months a year. As everybody dies, we'll come back in and pick up from everyone else's ashes. But we're outer loop right now.
Makes sense. Got it. Okay.
Now, was there a period of time where you weren't picking up as many units? You took a break, I guess.
Well, kind of. We went from 10 units at the Super Bowl to 103 on New Year's Day of 2020. We had 103. Then COVID hit, right? We broke we broke that growth trend and ended up downsizing to like 65 doors. Then came back up over 100. And we were trying to grow these last 6 months, last year, but with the rental market going kind of nuts, we ended up in a spot where we landlords just weren't calling us back because there's a false sense of confidence in the market. So people are like, oh, we don't need you. But now they're calling us back. So all the 100 doors we're picking up right now, it would have been nice to pick them up over the course of a year, but I guess we're going to take them in 5 months, just because of time.
It's a beautiful thing, man. So the free rent strategy, you got to go over that because a lot of people get into the space, but then a lot of them don't ask for the free rent or they just say no, or they don't know how to get the free rent. How do you do that?
How do I get free rent?
Yeah. Buy the course.
Yeah, I'll give you a simplified answer, I guess, because I've got a whole sales system, and the free rent part comes like after we've already got approved for the building and we're like negotiating some finer details. But I'll give you a more conceptual answer. A lot of people don't go for free rent because people are so kind of bent out of shape, hoping that they can get their opportunity. They go, I really want to get an Airbnb, right? So they're asking landlords like with their hands out like this, like Oliver Twist, like, can I please have a lease, right? And there's such a imbalance in the power exchange between a landlord and the tenant in that way. If you want a landlord to say yes to things that you offer, you have to know your own value. When you go to, hey, I'm going to solve your occupancy problems. I'm going to fix your issue, which is that, you're looking at, the next 6 months to a year, the market's going to be kind of crazy. And if you've got a multifamily building that doesn't have 90% occupancy right now, you're probably not looking at 90% occupancy for the next year. It's like an argument you can make. So you say, hey, I'm going to get 5 doors or I'm going to get 10 doors from your building, but in exchange, I want 6 weeks or 8 weeks of rent. I've got some negotiating techniques where we'll give them a concession, something that would already been baked in the deal, but they don't know about yet. So we're like, hey, Till, we'll do this for you. Give us our 6 weeks or 8 weeks of rent. There's a long answer to the question, which I don't think we have that much time, because the way that I approach pitching landlords is like a sales system. And we start by getting the landlord to agree to the idea and concept, right? We're pitching the idea of short-term rentals first, and we get them to agree, go through the lease application, and kind of get to the end of the sale before we start to ask for certain things. But the whole premise of our sale is based on the value that we provide. And this is where I think a lot of people go wrong, is when somebody's getting into the short-term rental space, they're so excited to get into the short-term rental space that what they're looking for is just any landlord to tell them yes. So they're coming to landlords with this really weak position going, hey, please, can you give me a property? I would love to have a property. And then the landlord's like, yes or no. And then lots of landlords, when they see that kind of approach, are like, yes, but I'm going to charge you more rent, right? Because the person who typically tends to get into Airbnb without any backstory, without any history or experience, they don't know their own value. They don't know what they're really providing to the landlord. So the only real difference to a normal lease you get is a landlord trying to take advantage of this new Airbnb host. So instead, if you know the value that you offer to a landlord, like the fact that you can give them a 3-year long lease where tenant turnover for 3 years, or there's other aspects of how we run our businesses that might actually be better than a regular tenant. When you approach a landlord where you know your position of value, you can start to negotiate for things in return. And especially in this market right now, if a multifamily building, is 85% occupied, they're already in a tough spot. And as the market starts to pull back, owners aren't going to be confident that they're get over 90% occupied in the next year. So you can really go to multifamily and say, hey, I'll take 5 or I'll take 10 doors from you. But in exchange, I want some free rent, because what I'm doing is I'm giving you certainty that you're going to hit your occupancy metrics over the next year. And that's a big factor.
Definitely is, because I mean, hey, if they ain't got the occupancy, they can't go get more. I love that. Now, with this strategy, are you only doing apartments because you have the advantage of, hey, I'll give you this much occupancy? So are you only doing apartments, or do you do houses as well?
We have a preference in our urban areas to do studio apartments. That's our preference, because we can do 30 in the same building. We like that. Certain markets like Philadelphia, all the apartments in Center City Rittenhouse, they're taken, right? So like Sonder, like Rip City. So we do a lot of townhomes in Philadelphia market. We do some houses in Houston. Austin's all apartments. Dallas is mostly all apartments. And even in Dallas, we had 3-bedroom apartments for a few years at one building, and they're just making so much money. So we typically like studios or 3 bedrooms, but we still prefer them to be apartments because we can pick up a lot in the same building. If we have to, as part of our growth strategy, pick up houses, we'll do it. We're picking up houses now, but we're actually doing co-hosting for those. So we've got 150 arbitrage, and now we're up to like 3 co-hosting properties, and we've got 10 more that we're negotiating right now. So we have houses, but we're going to be not arbitraging.
Now on your Dallas, because you said you're picking up more in Dallas, are the new regulations going to affect your Dallas units, or are you just doing it like where they have to be 5 units or more commercial? How does that affect you?
So it looks like most of our properties are going to be fine.
Yeah.
If the whole thing has to be 5 units or more, great. If multifamily in residential neighborhoods still can't be done, then it will affect one of our buildings for sure. But all of our buildings are big buildings. None of our properties are 4-unit or less, so we should be free and clear on that.
Gotcha.
Now, go back to one thing you said. You said it's either studio to you guys, either studios or 3 bedrooms. You didn't say, or you said 1 bedrooms, or you jumped to 3. You didn't say 2 bedrooms. Why not 2 bedrooms?
Well, we actually jumped 1 bedrooms too, if we can avoid them.
Oh wow.
Well, the reason why, so 1 bedrooms effectively is a studio, but it costs about $1,000 more to furnish. And the photos don't come out as cool a lot of times, because studios have this more open floor plan, which gives you more room to do cool stuff, right? So studios can look cooler for cheaper and give you the same occupancy, which means they're going to be more profitable. 2 bedrooms are kind of stuck in the middle, right? They can sleep 7 or 8 people at best, and you're not getting into the group sizes enough that allow you to get that upsized revenue.
That makes sense.
But for the increase of rent between a 2-bedroom and a 3-bedroom, you'll make a lot more money. Or a 4-bedroom, you make a lot more money. But the increase in rent between a 1-bedroom and a 2 doesn't give you like an upsized revenue return. So you can either go groups as a strategy, or you can compete on price as a strategy. So studios we do to compete on price, and 3 bedrooms are larger we do to start to access the group like high margin properties.
I love that, man. That's cool.
No, I noticed another thing. I noticed you said with the 2 bedrooms, they're in the middle. Have you avoided those? Because you've seen they're kind of in competition with like the 3-bedroom houses. Have you seen anything like that?
When we get offered 2 bedrooms, we try to negotiate their prices down to materially the same as 1-bedroom properties. And if we can get the rent down in our negotiation, kind of like how we try to negotiate for free rent, we'll tell them, hey, 2 bedrooms are cool, but not at that price point. We'll take them at this price. If we can get the rent down, we'll take them, but we won't take them at face value nearly ever.
Wow. Now that's next level. I hope y'all took notes on that, because that's one hell of a gem.
Okay, how was being homeless? How did that help your business?
I was actually just talking to somebody about this today. I tried to share a truism earlier, which is, when right, they're afraid that maybe they won't succeed. And if they run into an obstacle big enough, they might just give up. Like Airbnb regulations, like in Dallas, if there's regulations where you have to get a permit or something like that, some people might just give up trying, right? But I had to correct my own truism, because I'm like, well, that actually didn't apply to me, because I was homeless when I started my first, nothing was going to stop me. So if I wasn't homeless, I probably wouldn't have started my first successful business.
Nice. So being homeless, you started from the bottom. Now you're here, and we're here, and you made it. Moved on up. You're up at the top. So I know you're not one of those flashy gurus with the Mercedes. I mean Mercedes with the high-end cars. What's it called? The bikini models all over you, stuff like that. But you do have a pretty cool pad, man. We got to hang out at your pad. Julie George and the gang showed up and came to town, and we had a good time, man. So why was it important for you to get like a pimped out penthouse in downtown Dallas with $1 million view?
Well, I actually decided that I needed to show some form of journey with my, right? Because people are watching, and there's a lot of naysayers, and there's a lot of people who really want to show that it's valid. And there's an element of showing that you're successful that allows to help people understand that it actually will work, right? Mm-hmm. But I didn't want to do it in a cliche way. So I'm like, I'm gonna move into a place that I like. I can shoot YouTube videos, a place that says that the background says, yeah, he's doing good, right? So that's why I got the place. And then after I moved in, I'm like, oh, I could Peerspace this too. This would be sick. So that was like an off topic thing. But yeah, I did it because I figured it'd be a place that I can be a creator, do my thing, work from home, passively show that I'm moving up in the world without having to stand in front of a car, So I figured it'd be the least cliche, least pushy way to say, hey.
Now you did mention Peerspace, so you are allowed to Peerspace your place.
Actually, no, I just got 2 lease violations back to back. A year and a half later, I've been here for a year and a half, and now they just gave me 2 lease violations because somebody threw a crazy party. And it's actually my assistant's. This is what happens when you do business with friends, probably. My assistant's fraternity brother connection threw a party here, and it just went nuts, I guess. So.
Oh no!
Now we're reworking this, right? I don't think they wanted to give me any trouble because I'm the most expensive unit in the building. They don't want to like drop me for that. Peerspace, I have people here 3 or 4 days a month for 2 hours at a time, so it's almost like very little load. So I did the ask for forgiveness, not permission thing, but now I think it's starting to become a point of contention. So we'll see.
Yeah, I could imagine. See, I didn't even think partiers would go to Peerspace, but I mean, it's someone it's a friend, so I understand it. Okay.
Oh no, like my best paying Peerspace was a kid's graduation party. He graduated with a master's in some form of science and engineering something out of SMU, and they paid $4,000 for the evening to rent my place.
You can't beat that.
And they were out before midnight, bro. And you can't beat that. So yeah, so like people do use Peerspace for gatherings. I've had a lot of wedding proposals. I've had a lot of music videos. I had a mariachi band last week come in. That was cool. Guy that used to perform with Prince just shot here one day. Like really cool stuff. Meeting some really cool people.
That is dope. Yeah. Those are connections that are valuable connections right there.
Oh, I got that guy's phone number for sure. I made that connection. So wasn't gonna miss it.
Now,
so it's become a networking tool for you.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
So it sounds like you've expanded outside of Airbnb, gone into Peerspace. Now, for your short-term rental side, have you guys also gone off Airbnb, such as like VRBO, Booking.com? Or are you just only on Airbnb right now?
Oh, we're absolutely on VRBO. And the next move, of course, is direct bookings, Expedia, stuff like that. For sure. Okay. Absolutely.
Okay, and what made you expand?
Well, we should have done it 4 years ago, right? Airbnb kind of pushing hosts around is probably why. We were super naive. until we got to 100 properties. And yeah, so my YouTube channel is called Airbnb Automated. So I also just stuck the Airbnb as part of my brand, like you can grow an Airbnb. That's part of my problem. But when Airbnb did the whole COVID thing and canceled everybody's stuff, we kind of woke up. That was the thing. And so that's when we started pushing into the VRBO or VRBO now. But direct bookings is the next arc. Everybody should be doing direct bookings.
So no, real quick, before we get into direct bookings, I know that's a hot topic right there. You did go pretty scorched earth on Airbnb whenever they did that COVID thing and they canceled everybody's bookings, right? So what came out of that? Because I thought Airbnb started sending you some legal stuff for talking so much shit.
Well, they actually just asked me to take the video down, but since the video was founded on actual data, they couldn't force it down because it wouldn't, like, there's no libel there. They just asked me politely to take it down. I'm like, no, you gotta stay accountable. The brand protection team asked me to not use the word Airbnb in my YouTube name. So now it's Sean Rakidzich. It's not Airbnb Automated anymore, but I still show up in the Airbnb Automated search tag. That's like still my biggest search tag on YouTube. That's the only thing that's the only thing that they've done since going public that, you know, has been an issue.
So they made you, wow. So they sent the legal team to make you take that down.
Brand protection team. And they're sending notices to people who have B&B or Airbnb in their names for their hospitality businesses, not just me.
Okay. Wow. Happy you said that. All right.
Watch out.
I know. Geez. No, okay. Now, for someone who's looking to get into arbitraging, because, you know, things are going crazy, prices of rents are coming back down. What advice did you have for someone who's like, looking, hey, I just want to get in, I want to get 10 units. What advice would you have for them?
A lot of people deliberate. So the first thing you can do that doesn't require any skill is start an LLC. The older your LLC, the better. Next is sales training, product knowledge. Understand how this industry works and how a landlord might actually need your help. Practice sales, and then do your market research while you're practicing sales and your LLC is getting older. There's a lot of preparation, right? Good preparation will lead to getting 10 doors. That's probably my main advice. I got YouTube videos and sales techniques. I'll probably just direct them to those as well, on sales techniques for our specific industry. But I think what a lot of people do is they try to do research and try to decide if they're going to get in the industry, and then they start an LLC 2 or 3 months later. But they should start it today and then go through all the tedious stuff, because then that LLC could actually get approved for a lease 4 or 6 months down the road, no trouble. But that's where a lot of people get snagged up.
So why is it so important to put all your properties into an LLC?
Well, this is super hypothetical, but let's say a landlord says, cool, right? And then 4 months later, let's say a bad party happens or something happens where the landlord wants to change their mind. Well, now if the landlord's like, you need to leave. And then you're like, well, no, we got a lease. He'll like, I'll evict you. And it's going to go on your personal eviction record if I evict you. That's a really high risk situation, right? You don't have an eviction on your record. So forming through an LLC gives you protection, where 2 businesses are now, you know, pushing back at each other, and you don't have to worry about it tagging you in eviction court if something ever did go wrong. And there's another thing that we could talk for a long time on, but I learned from my attorneys in Philadelphia. There's something called course of dealing in the Uniform Commercial Code. It's a business legal term. And even if you don't have a contract with another company and you start doing business with another company and you guys are doing things if you're doing things one way and you start to get into a rhythm with the company, and then they try to change that on you and get aggressive, you can defend yourself in accordance to course of dealing. If you can prove course of dealing, you don't even need to have a contract. Arguably, it's not an easy defense, but an attorney could take it.
Have you had to use attorneys? Have you ever been kicked out of places and had to use attorneys?
I've had a lot of weird legal stuff in Philadelphia because people are kind of shady. Part of a settlement agreement, I can't go into detail. I'm quite happy with the settlement agreement, but there's going to be a confidentiality clause signed in that. So, and all I can say, it was worth paying them, all 3 of them. It was worth it. So, you know, I don't know how much more I could say without them coming in.
So yeah, so that's another thing. The we're trying hard to ban short-term rentals. How's that fight going right now?
They keep kicking the date down the road. They kicked it to January 3rd. So now January 3rd, you have to be registered. But with the way that they're doing it, it's likely that they're going to kick it back again. And the moment that they kick it back again would be the moment I tell everybody, sure, jump into Philadelphia. They can't get their stuff together. So
now you have a big presence in the space. You know, you're what'd you say? You're niche famous. That's what you said on one of your videos. That's pretty cool. So how are you using that notoriety, I guess, to help in the fight against major cities getting banned?
I'm not the person for it. I can spread awareness, but I can't show up at a meeting and go, hey guys, fight for the little guy, because I'm not the little guy, right? My presence at a town hall probably going to, but I can do PSAs. We did a video where my friend Sean Ray, the real estate agent here, he's like, Sean, can you meet with this person from city council? Can we do a blip on your YouTube? And I did that. I'm going to work with Theron from Theron Lewis. He does nonprofit
Sharing Dallas.
Yeah, no, he's from Detroit. Yeah. So I'm going to work with him. We're probably going to do a state of the market on some cities that are trying to ban and give everybody kind of like some resources on the YouTube channel. But that's about as much as I can do. I can't act like I speak for the people anymore because I'm just too big.
Yeah. He's good buddies of ours. He's right now he's doing the sharingdallas.org, which people can donate to, and they're doing the fight to keep it from getting banned in Dallas. So he helps a lot.
Yeah, we've got a meeting lined up, so I've yet to get debriefed on all the stuff. So.
Yeah, he's the man. The superhero.
Yeah, he's super cool.
He's super cool.
Oh yeah, and I'm happy he's working with Dallas to get everything straightened out too, and I'm happy he's doing it in Philly as well.
Yeah.
So you had a rough upbringing, right? So I don't want to go into it, but are there any good habits that came out of having a rough upbringing that kind of helped you turn this into the massive business that it is? And are there any lingering bad habits that you got to be aware of?
Oh, dude. I used to say that everything just rolled off my back like Teflon. I think my childhood made me indestructible in a lot of ways. But I was also deeply validation seeking, right? So I would work really hard for people just to get a pat on the back. And I think that taught me work ethic because I needed to experience work ethic for that to happen. So that came through with that. So my validation seeking behavior made me extremely resourceful. But now I think there are going to be aspects of how I lead people that need to change, because how I got here and why I got here was for probably the wrong reasons. And so now I've got to go through a little bit of an existential tunnel, probably to hit my next phase of growth and leadership.
Love that.
Yeah.
And how has Burning Man helped all that?
Well, Burning Man wasn't the only thing, but I started traveling about a year ago and taking a lot of time off. When I first retired-ish, I did my retirement thing a year ago. I had this crisis of purpose because no one needed me, and that was really weird, right? To have no one need you. Then I got used to that, started to feel really free in my travels, started to really loosen up, chill out. I backed off the companies completely and I wasn't worried about it anymore. Burning Man was the point where I showed up somewhere that money didn't matter. That was cool. One of the very first situations I've been in where money just didn't matter because you couldn't spend any. And I realized I hide in productivity. Obviously I was in a new environment, new people, and I spent 3 or 4 days just hanging out my camp cooking for people because I just didn't know what to do with my time. While everybody's out doing Burning Man stuff, I'm at my camp cooking and just trying to be helpful. And I realized I sink into this behavior of trying to see. That's why I probably am so active on YouTube. And I realized that I need to be more brave, socially speaking. I'm kind of an introvert. So that's something I learned at Burning Man. I don't think it applies to my business, but it's been helpful for me.
Dude, I'm a major introvert, right? And that is one thing that I went to a conference this weekend, and that's one thing I'm really learning to break out of is my introvertedness.
Because I went to a conference this week.
Say that again.
You went this week? Did you go to Joe Dispenza?
No. I went to Thatch Wynn. He's one of my mentors. Okay. I went to his conference, and it was really about breaking through, what's holding you back. And that was one thing that really I struggle with. On my goals behind me, I have be a better communicator because it affects my communication skills. So I know how it is being an introvert, man.
Feel that.
What was that?
I said I feel that.
Oh yeah, for sure. My next question for you is, this is the ultimate question, because I know you're 100% big on arbitraging. Do you ever plan on buying? And if so, when?
I will buy a fat multifamily building when I can pry it out of the weeping hands of an investor who made a big mistake.
Ooh, I like that. Man, so you want to go straight into multifamily. What size? You don't care, just multifamily?
100 unit plus, probably.
Wow. And you don't want to do it with any syndicators, just 100% arbitrage cash.
I might play with some syndications, but I'm not going to call that buying. And my reason for syndicating would be more of a networking move than an investment.
Ooh, man, this guy's tough. I like that. That's a good way to think about it.
Yeah.
Now, one hot topic also in the industry is short-term rental insurance. Do you use short-term rental insurance? If so, which ones do you use?
What's really funny is I'll recommend to people to use either Proper or what's that other one?
Superhog.
Superhog is good. Yeah. So I'll recommend, but I don't, because all our units are studios, and Airbnb's air cover is good enough that we can get paid for $200, $500, $2,000 claims, pretty simply. The total amount of damage that can be done to any one unit is pretty low when I have studio apartments. So it's really not worth spending a premium on these little tiny units. And it's a streamline that way. If we did start doing bigger houses, yeah, we probably would use Proper Superhog or something like that. If we had like a 4-bedroom, 5-bedroom house that was like luxury, and the risk of loss was greater. Like if we could take a $25,000 loss on furniture, like somebody just totals all of our furniture and it would exceed 25 grand, at that point I probably would get an insurance policy.
That's a good. It's funny you say that, because we just had a conversation in our mastermind. Like, hey, is it worth it even having Superhog on places that you're doing Airbnb, because air cover should cover it? That basically answered my question.
Well, insurance companies are a casino, right? Yeah. What they do is they're like a bookmaker, right? So they're making a spread and they're keeping what's in the middle. So when you're big enough, not paying premiums on 200 units, you save all those premiums. If you put all that money into hiding and then cashed it in when you did have an event, you're likely going to survive it. The only thing is if you have a problem, like your first 4 months or 6 months of being a big company, it could be a big expense that puts you down. And that'd be the only reason why people bring insurance in, is because, yeah, even though you're losing a little bit of topside, it still prevents you from the black swan event, So if you have a risk of ruin that has to be considered, then insurance is safe.
I like that.
Oh, that's a good point right there. I just off topic, I just got rid of all my home warranties for all my houses that I own, because they stop approving anything. So I'm like, why am I paying monthly fees for this crap if you deny every single claim that I throw at you? So I'm just gonna go at it, just make a pile of money to use when something goes wrong. I have my handyman in place and go from there.
Yeah, you guys can do a self-insurance policy too. They were originally designed for crops for farmers. Well, you can put $2 million a year away tax-free into your own insurance policy.
What?
IUL?
Yeah. So I've got a guy, his name's Brooks. You want to set up a self-insurance thing? I got you. It has nothing to do with life insurance. So it's like a 401k in steroids or something like that.
Oh yeah. We definitely have to. You're gonna have to definitely send us that information.
Yeah, I'll just introduce you to the guy. He's out doing weird stuff. He's traveling, but when he's back, I'll put you in touch with him.
So what made you want to go into teaching this? And you have this huge following on YouTube and of course Facebook. So what made you want to go into it, and how is teaching other people how to do this actually helped your own business?
Well, I wanted to prove something back then. I only had 10 doors. I wanted to prove that what I did was valid, the whole validation seeking behavior. But then I fell in love with the concept of making videos and creating. There's an artistic side, and I'm an art kid. So I fell in love with the process of creating videos, and the one thing I was good at was Airbnb, so I was creating videos on the topic. Now, holding myself accountable was probably the big thing. That's how it really held me accountable. Because I'm going to grow my business on YouTube, and then I had to. So it's cool to have an accountability partner, like the anonymous world that I was, teaching to. But it also gave me a chance to trial and error some stuff. Because if I didn't have a YouTube channel, I probably wouldn't have tried things just to find out if it would work. Because I wanted to try stuff and come back to YouTube and say if it worked or not. So I was more innovative and more risk-taking, I think, because of the YouTube channel.
What was something in all this that, Oh, Micah, you look like you're going to ask something about the YouTube.
I'm not going to ask anything. I'm just going to make a comment to any of the listeners. What he just said is actually really, really key, because he said he used his YouTube channel to hold him accountable because he has to produce the YouTube content. So in order to do that and for it to be effective and genuine content, he has to go and do the work. That's actually the same with this podcast. That's the only reason it's really been running this long. It's because, well, damn, if we're going to be talking about short-term rentals, corporate housing, Airbnb, we have to do it. And so, like, look at Steve. I mean, you just ramped up your business, with the management side. So the people that are out there that want to, grow their business, that's actually a really great thing you just said, is put it out there on Instagram what you do, and people will follow you. And then for you to hold yourself accountable, keep pushing it out there. I love that. That's a really good thing for any people or affluencing influencers or whatever you want to be.
Well, if you think about it, right, the whole concept of do or die, right? If it's do or die, you're going to do. But with how prevalent social media is, it's like do or death of your reputation for being the person that didn't do what they said they were going to do. So it's like, in a way, it's like a social do or die by putting.
Yeah. And just one more thing. And one thing that I noticed, like, me and you are real big on, and I know you've talked about it and I've talked about it, is these random people, with the sponsored ads on Instagram selling courses and things. That's, if they haven't found someone who's genuine, who's putting out the free content, I'm happy you always bring that up, like, quit just going to these random gurus who just paid for an ad space and now they're all over and now they're making all this money and ripping people off. So hold yourself accountable, keep posting genuine content to anyone out there. This is really good stuff. But yeah, go ahead, Steve. My bad.
Yeah, the cappers, that's what Clubhouse is for. I was so speaking of keeping yourself accountable, holding yourself accountable and using the YouTube channel to do that. What is like some of the biggest, like, it was like the great idea at the time, you wanted to try it and you tried it and it was the biggest failure, it was the biggest flop. And I mean, can you speak towards that? Because I mean, a lot of people like to talk about their successes. What was one of the biggest bad ideas that you had?
What's really funny is a lot of times things work, people just don't try, right? A lot of ideas work, people just don't try. But what did we fail at? Did we completely screw something up? I think probably a compensation style. We probably tried to like run a compensation package that didn't work for a certain position.
So, like, for example, speaking of compensation package, because like cleaners, you have them on an hourly, right? You pay them hourly.
Yeah, it works.
So that's most people paying by the job. So how did you get that to work?
Well, it works because if somebody needs to do extra work, they're staying extra time, they get paid for their extra time. There's no longer resentment when somebody throws a party or there's deep cleaning that there's no resentment that they have to be thoroughly paid for it. And also, when you pay people by the hour and you have a good training system, like our housekeepers aren't housekeepers, right? Our housekeepers are from McDonald's. Our housekeepers are baggers at a grocery store. Our housekeepers are people who used to be a babysitter. And they're taking a job at a raise. When we pay them $12 to $14 an hour, it's $2 to $3 more per hour than they're used to making. So they're super happy to work for $14 an hour, no experience necessary. We train them in our like franchise housekeeping system. And they're like, this is so cool. I'm making so much more money. So we have their loyalty at 14, where other people are like, oh, you're underpaying your housekeepers. Yeah, if we hired a housekeeper with 5 years experience in the game and we pay them 14 an hour, they wouldn't take the job because they know they can make 30 an hour. We're not hiring housekeepers. Right, we're training people to become housekeepers and work for 30 an hour. Like, the moment they get done with our training program, they could go take double pay somewhere else. But they're loyal to us because they don't know that yet. And hopefully by the time that they know that there's an industry, they're loyal to our company for other reasons, not just the compensation. Right. So yeah, there's an element there. Human resources, man.
That's beautiful, man. So you have your own in-house cleaning company?
Everything is in-house. We've got like 30 housekeepers.
Damn.
That's smart, man. That's the way to do it.
You want to own every piece of value delivery in your business and every piece of value creation in your business. You don't want anybody else doing your customer service. You don't want anybody else doing your housekeeping. You don't want anybody else doing your maintenance or your moving or your staging. You want all of it to be in-house. Now, when you're too small, you're going to have an interior designer do your interior design until you're a big boy, right? But that's an example of like, you kind of have to work with people when you're tiny, but when you get big, you can own it all. We've got a director of real estate that does all of our door negotiation, right? We pay him doors we pulled out are all because of him. And if we paid somebody else as a salesperson, the cost for those 100 doors would have been astronomical,
Gee, man, that's powerful, man. Instead of, and I remember I was talking to a guy this weekend. He runs like a $4 million a year wholesaling business, and they were like, "Well, how does you do it? You know, when you train these people up, why don't they leave?" He goes, "Well, I don't." He said exactly what you said. Like, I don't go get the guy who's a sales guy. I teach him sales. I bring him in house and I teach him sales. That's the same way you got to run your cleaning business. You got to bring that in house. And I was telling Steve about that. I'm like, dude, we have enough units. We can start our own cleaning company. We can bring everything in house. I'm happy you did that. That is awesome, man. I hope people are taking notes. That's huge.
Yeah, it's probably these things about staying competitive right now.
Yeah.
And do you utilize virtual assistants?
We have assistants. We have remote workers, but they're all United States based, just for culture and quality purposes.
Nice. And why did you go that route instead of paying someone $5 an hour in the Philippines? Or
because this is hospitality and guest experience is super important. And the last thing I want is somebody to get offended that they're having a hard time checking into a property, or their like hot water heater isn't working and they're talking to somebody in Polynesia or something, and then they get offended. We want somebody who's nearby, you know, just for those high risk situations.
Interesting. And how do you find good I guess there's still virtual remote workers. How do you find good employees to do that job?
So for all positions, no matter what you hire for, the most expensive positions you hire are going to be when you run a job ad, cold ad, looking for people you don't know. Most of our remote workers come from referrals. We'll have housekeepers that are good, a manager that we hired that's good. And when you have good workers, you incentivize them to refer people into your company, and those will be your best and cheapest hires. So all of our remote workers are internal referrals.
Nice. And what about maintenance people?
Depending on the area, like Austin, we still only have 11 properties. The Fort Worth, we have like maybe 15. And apartment complexes do so much maintenance that we don't really need maintenance work. But in Dallas, we have like a pseudo full-time maintenance guy that does other stuff when he's not busy. But we will contract out somebody else piece by piece in other cities where we don't have a big enough presence. But we do have one maintenance guy in Dallas that will also he'll refresh listings, he'll move in new furniture, pull out bad furniture. We keep him busy with other non-maintenance.
No, I'm happy you brought up the maintenance thing. In situations where like the management just goes bad, right? What do you put something in your lease to like, hey, if this management team slacks, I get a concession? Because I know you're real big on concessions in your lease.
We try to negotiate the right to repair and deduct when management's being foolish. We try to work that in because we're not asking for free money because people get afraid of stuff like that. But we put like if management has difficulty responding to maintenance requests, we have the right to, with our own resources, conduct maintenance and deduct the cost the landlord would have had to repair or something of that language. And then the landlord will sign on to that. So when they're not fast enough to repair, we send our own maintenance guy. We're cost effective. So when we send them the repair and deduct, it's not some crazy price. So they tend to go away.
I should have known that, should have done that. Man,
well, if you want the best leases on the planet, go look at Sonder's. Sonder has these lease agreements that if the stock market drops 700 points, they don't have to pay rent for a month or 2 months or something like that. So their legal team thought of everything.
Wow. Yeah, I've heard you talk about that too. Wow, yeah, Sonder's next level, right?
Masterclass in negotiation.
But isn't Sonder struggling right now, or no?
Well, they're losing money, yes. But they went public at $1.8 billion. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So for the owner, it worked out just fine. You know?
So when are you going public, man?
Dude, I'm not this portfolio. This portfolio, once we break 300 doors, I'm going to give Haley part ownership, but we're going to keep this one internal. And I'm going to use this portfolio as my pitch deck to do like a VC backed one that might go public, but that's later.
Man, like one thing I love about you, man, you always have everything. You have a farther vision from everything. Hey, once I hit 300 doors, we can do this. I love that you're laser focused. I can see why.
There's books on that. There's books on that. There's a book called Traction. Get a grip on your business. That's good. Traction. Now, your visions always have to be flexible, right? You need it's like following the North Star, right? You got to have your North Star concepts, like things that you're really working towards. But where you are compared to that vision will always change based on the wind and the weather and stuff. And you just have to stay flexible. There's stuff that you're reaching for right now within arm's length. You should have a rigid plan to get to the next step, but you need to have a loose plan to get to the next town. that kind of thing.
So like to run this operation, even though you're saying, okay, we're not to 300 units yet, it's still pretty massive and you got employees. What kind of system do you use to run all this? I mean, like a operating system, like EOS or something like that.
Well, we've got a lot of best practices and standard operating procedures within the company. Everything is human touch. We've got softwares that will help people do more stuff. We've got one software that's pretty central. It's basically mixing like a time clock system and a group text message system, and our housekeepers work through this thing called Connect Team. And we use Google Business, and those are like the really only main business like softwares that we need. We don't like using PMSs, so we use HostUp just to connect our calendars. We use Wheelhouse for pricing management, but everything is still highly human touch. We try to keep things as people driven as possible.
No PMSs.
No PMS.
What the hell?
Do you plan on using? Go ahead.
I mean, I don't really want to. I really don't want to. If we might use, we might use Hostfully at one point. I like their front end. It's really sales driven. And if we use a software, we need to know that the software is going to create incremental growth. So
okay, that'd be okay. You did say you're going to use Hostfully if it. So like when you plan on going to your direct bookings, you still won't use a PMS, and how would you plan on going about that?
Well, as long as we can connect the calendars, that's really all that we need. A lot of people automate themselves into a rigid position of failure where if something breaks, they don't know how to fix it. Right.
Yeah.
And even a airplane, these jet planes can land and like take off on their own, but they still have a pilot, right? A pilot still makes a lot of money to sit in that chair. So no matter how elegant your software, no matter how elegant your systems, you always need a human that knows everything to be watching the system. So that's why we grow the way that we grow. Because we ever like dock in a software, the person who docks in the software knows more about the software than probably the person selling us the software. And that's where you want to be before you start onboarding stuff.
So is that where you learn like to actually build a real business from that books like Traction or something like that to make like a CEO, managers, supervisors? I mean, how did you formulate all that?
Well, I've read a lot of books. I started my first company in 2010, so it's been 12 years. But I mean, books like Traction are good, or The Leadership Pipeline. A book called Multipliers is a great leadership book. Brain Steering is a good book on innovation. Like even the basic books like 1 Minute Manager, Who Moved My Cheese, those are really good books. A lot of Dale Carnegie system books or John C. Maxwell are great. Haley loves John Maxwell, by the way. She reads a lot of
Carnegie all day. I love it.
Yeah, that's right. I can't, there's so many books that I've read, and maybe out of every 10 books I've read, I get one book worth of real information. But over time, it's like the books and the experience, 12 years. And I guess you just kind of learn the hard way, or you get lucky and learn from someone else.
So how would you okay, your managerial style, right? Or you're the CEO, you're the boss, you're the president. How are you able to come to terms with the fact that you are you want to please people? You said you want that what was it called, adoration, or you want the pat in the back, validation, and then but be a hard ass, say, hey motherfucker, you keep fucking up, you're gone, or you stop fucking up. I don't know, how do you fight those two urges in you?
Well, so the validation seeking behavior tends to come out in the YouTube content. My relationship with the business tends to be more like my one-on-one mentorship is pretty soft. I've got a pretty soft hand, but I embody an authority position right away, which people don't ever really want to test that fence. I tend to be more bad cop than Haley. Haley's very much a relationship style manager, so she wants to make sure that everybody loves their job. And I'm the kind of person that's like, we need to make sure that we're performing, because if we don't perform, we won't have a job. So Haley and I embody really good different perspectives in how leadership should work. And we kind of have this good cop, bad cop, but I tend to embody the hard ass by nature, more of a performance driven manager type. So it doesn't come out in my leadership style. I don't need to prove to people who work for me that I'm good enough, because I write their check. Yeah, it's really weird how that can actually have a duality where to the world, I'm like, guys, please believe in arbitrage. But the people who work for me, I'm like, hey, you're slacking on your KPIs.
Speaking of Haley, one cool thing that you said in a video was Haley versus the VA when it comes to like giving a guest a refund for something, right? You said something like, if it, Haley got so good, at not winning every single refund case through Airbnb or through whatever, that you had to make a position where there's a VA that actually goes against her to say, hey, maybe they do deserve kind of a refund. Go ahead to tell us about that. That's hilarious.
Yeah, so that position is actually called a guest experience manager. It's very much like a product manager position in tech company where is so good at defending themselves from claims that it's almost like our guests need to have a public defender in court, right? Somebody needs to be assigned to them to make sure that they're well represented. And that's kind of the position, because we get so good at shutting everything down. It doesn't matter if the guest was right or wrong. We're just good at shutting down because we're like, hey, Airbnb, screw you. Like, we don't want to pay you anything because you're Airbnb, but somebody's got to look out for the guests. So we decided to do that. And there's been huge implications. Having somebody that kind of within the organization that's wanting to make sure that the guest is accommodated, it shoved it increased our 5-star review percentage exponentially, just because guests felt heard, they felt seen, they felt understood. To have that middleman liaison that always gave them the benefit of the doubt and always really listened, even if we paid out 0 more claims, everybody else felt heard and seen, which increased our review count.
That was really cool, man. That was a mind-blowing thing that we're doing. So I guess that it kind of, in our, we're up to 70 units, but we have a thing we manage for other people too. So we have most clients are hands off, that they trust us, just send me the checks, everything's good, hunky dory. But then every now and then we have a client that's like, hey, they left a stain on this table, that charge them $1,000. They left people like that. I'm like, so we're kind of have that set up in our own thing where we're fighting for the clients. We're like, listen, you can't go after these. These are the guests. These are the people that pay the bills. You can't go after them for every little thing. It's bad for business.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, well, it is, but it's bad for business when it comes to relationships, long game. If you want people, we go after guests for every little thing through Airbnb because they're not loyal to Airbnb. They're not loyal to Airbnb, let alone us. Right? So if a guest does cause damage, I'm about to release a video on this on YouTube, by the way, how to actually pull this off. We can get paid on absolutely every little thing, and there's no way that they can come back against us on our review. Our process for this is really, really good. And a guest that's going to break something and then be a dick about it, do you want that guest back in you? Right? So a guest breaks something like, hey, you stained 4 towels, XYZ something, and we have to file a claim, so Airbnb's insurance will cover it. If you don't want to pay it, just tell Airbnb that. You can work it out with them. But in order for us to get paid for these towels, we have to invoke this claim with Airbnb. And if somebody's going to act like a child about the fact that they legitimately did damage and we still need to start a claim to get insurance to cover it, we don't want that person to come back anyway, right? So that can go into a little private note. Like we might have used StayFi to grab their information and try to get people to come back directly, but that person, we're going to skip them. We're going to take them out of our email list, So people are so afraid of negative reviews or guests not coming back, but they stop to ask, do I want this guest back?
There you go.
And speaking of negative reviews, how important is it for you to be a Superhost?
Not at all. Not at this scale. It's cool to have. Sure. You should always try to have it because it still is an advantage, but the amount of things that you may have to do with 150 properties, the amount of sacrifices you have to make at 150 properties to keep Airbnb happy can cost way more money, big picture, than Superhost is worth. Because there are going to be inevitable situations at 150 properties where you have to shoot the moon to get Airbnb to be happy, right? And now that you're going VRBO, Expedia, Marriott, Homes and Villas, multi-channel, direct bookings, your mix on Airbnb is going to get lower and lower and lower. So being Superhost on Airbnb becomes less important, right? I think it's important to manage their algorithm as much as possible so you can get good placement. But outside of appeasing the algorithm, I don't think the sacrifice is necessary for Superhost or anymore.
Speaking of the algorithm, how many you got any hot tips on how to tickle the algorithm a little?
Well, yeah, the first 30 days are the most important, right? A lot of people set up a listing and wait, as they're still staging the thing, they'll set up a listing before it's ready. Don't do that. But if you have a studio apartment, set up the listing 3 days before it's ready. If you have a 3-bedroom house, set up a listing 10 days before it's ready, maximum, right? You can set up a listing and block it for 10 days if it's a 3-bedroom, but don't is live. You want it as full as possible, right? That first 30 days, if you're 100% occupied in the first 30 days, Airbnb will put you at the very top of the algorithm. And phase 2 of Airbnb's algorithm, it's like if you're a C student the first year of college, then the next 3 years of college, they're like, well, since you're a C student, the best you can be is B+, and the worst you can be is D-, right? But you can't go any further. The algorithm starts to channel you into something, right? But then over the course of years, your long-term reviews start to matter and your long-term occupancy percentage. There's more hard data that will even further define your rank, right? So Airbnb kind of has a shotgun blast the first 30 days and you start to define into a channel. So you really want to hit the algorithm hard in the first 30 days. And that's probably the most important. And then the next most important thing is really booking conversion, right? Algorithm impressions is cool, but booking conversion is next. And people's photos are the most important thing. And a lot of people don't understand what you can do with photos to keep your booking conversion high.
Now, do you you mentioned the first 30 days is important. Do you just have your prices like super low just to fill it up 100%?
Yeah, so I'll make a listing today for a place that's available tomorrow, and I'll drop tomorrow's rate for a studio apartment to 35.
Damn.
And then, but the next day is like 45 or 50, next day is like 65, 70, next day 70, 72, 75, 80, 82, 83, 85. And we have this crazy, like aggressive arc, but that gets us booked tomorrow right away, guaranteed. And we're doing it so that way for the next 2 years of this listing's life, we make an extra $150, $250 a month for the rest of the life of the property because our ranking's better, you know? So we're doing what we have to do for the first 2 weeks, but it has implications.
How do you keep a riffraff out for, cheap, renting something for $35 a night?
Well, so your risk is you have one new listing and you make a listing that's available tomorrow for $35, and your one risk is that possibly your first guest is riffraff. Right?
Okay. Yeah.
You're not doing 35 a night for the life of the property, right? You don't have your exposure to riffraff in a way is like 5 days long, right? Mm-hmm. And you have the ability to screen where they can only have positive reviews, only have have a government ID, another blank, so you can actually be more stiff on your screening for the first couple of weeks, because some good person's out there ready to book for 35 for the first night, maybe book a 5-night stay. A lot of times we'll get like a 5 or 10 day stay for our first booking because the prices were so sweet. Then because we've got lead time, now that 10-day booking affords us lead time for the days to come. Now we can be a little bit more loose on our requirements because we got the lead time. But yeah, it's like your first and second booking might be the only ones really at risk.
I love that, because you're playing the long-term game. Go ahead.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like you need to have a really good first date with Airbnb on every new listing, right?
You got to put out, man.
Yep, get them hooked.
And so one more thing I wanted to bring up, because that's really cool too. How you talked about a dirty trick that you did to the algorithm. Could you go over that dirty trick, please?
Wait, not to the algorithm. You're talking about my nasty trick in Austin?
Nasty trick in Austin. Sorry, the nasty.
Okay, so what I did.
Not a dirty trick, a nasty trick.
Yeah, so we picked up 11 apartments the rents were about $1,000 a month, and then we rented furniture. We did rent to own. Total staging cost, launch cost, we got into each unit for about $1,200 per unit. So we did rent to own. Normally it costs us like $500 per unit to set up, but because we did rent to own furniture, it only cost us $1,200 to activate each door. We got 10 weeks of rent for free on that. So now the return on investment for that property is over 1,000% ROI.
Wow.
It's our first rent to own furniture deal.
Now question. Since you're doing rent to own, since you got 10 weeks free, are you just boom, getting your money and then just paying off the furniture and everything else?
No, because the rent to own, what you should do, what we're doing is it adds to our cash basis, right? Mm-hmm. If you do a deal with 10 weeks of rent for free, you're $1,200 out of pocket, then you generate $5,000 or $7,000 before you have to pay your first month of rent. You can actually take $5,000 and start 3 more doors before you pay the first month of rent on the next door, right? You can magically generate cash with rent to own furniture and 10 weeks free. You can just grow like a fucking wildfire. We don't want to get too greedy. That's why we didn't go do it like that. But we're definitely thinking about it. I mean, it's tempting. It's so tempting. Just a leap for. So we want to keep our rent to own mix down just in case something goes wrong, because it's highly leveraged. But man, you can make cash appear out of nowhere with rent to own furniture.
Dude, I'll tell people, if you're gonna arbitrage, do it the way he's doing it. Hop into his course, because this is the only way I suggest doing it. Because that right there is fucking crazy. Damn.
Yeah, that's riding the lightning. I still think that anybody who's new should pay out of pocket for their furniture for the first couple deals. Always focus on free rent. If we don't get at least 8 weeks of free rent, we're not going to do a rent to own deal. I really want 10 weeks of free rent if we're going to do a rent to own deal. because it's an increased cost on the furniture. We're going to pay 300% of the furniture cost by doing rent to own, right? Lifetime. And if we get 10 weeks of rent for free on the front end, we get all this cash, and lifetime value of money, or the time value of money, makes the 10 weeks of rent free right now worth the markup on the furniture on the back end. It's like a math equation.
Wow. Can't beat that.
It's mind-blowing stuff.
Good
Real
time.
quick, my wife, which she came to the event that at your place too, the Julie George shindig. She said, if you have any more of these aguas frescas, let me know. I'll go back up the truck.
I got 2 cases. Come swing through.
Okay. Should be happy to hear that. Man, dude, this has been a great show. We're so happy that we finally got to have you on the show. Where, everybody knows where to find Sean. Everybody knows where to find Sean.
Just type my name into Google and just ignore all the hate speech about the fact that I'm Serbian or whatever. So.
Oh, there's hate speech out there.
I'm just saying, since I'm Serbian, there's probably people talking trash about Serbs.
Oh, shit. I was gonna ask one of the questions is because you brought it up on a, and you did it very gently on one of your IGs about a hater saying, "Oh, look at you rich people out there frolicking and Burning Man and we can't afford to do that." I don't know. It was somebody hating on you for that, and then complaining that you got 50 more units. How do you speak to haters?
You try to give them some love, and you try to teach them where their perception is wrong. If they're open-minded to hear your perspective, then cool. If they're not open-minded, you walk away. Focus on the people you can help.
For real, don't waste your time talking to the downtrodden.
And if they're not ready to grab your hand when you reach your hand out, then I mean you extend your hand once, and then you just move on to the next person. So that one conversation might stick in their head for 3 or 4 years, and they'll wake up one day and go, "Damn, maybe I did do my job." We'll find out.
Well, man, thank you so much for hopping on. You got any more questions for our man, Micah?
Man, that is it, man. You absolutely killed it. I will say, if anyone is looking to do arbitrage, head over to Airbnb Automated, because this is the only way to do it, because his way of doing it is killing it. And yeah, man, Sean, thanks for coming on. I mean, it's been like 5 years. I think I tried to get you on in year 3, and I think you were just rapidly growing your business at the time. So thanks for hopping on.
And I was super nervous about doing podcasts. I didn't want to wrap up in anybody else's brand at the time, because I'm still learning what the internet was as far as social media goes, as far as influencing goes. So I just kind of kept it close to the chest, but it's good to be here.
Definitely.
Cool, brother. Wish you more luck in the future, and keep. I mean, he gives up tons of free information, guys. Just go check out his channel. It's all free. It's all fucking free. I'm sure he has courses too, but I mean, you can start your business just by watching his videos. I mean, we've used so much of your tricks of the trade in our business. Thank you so much. And we've paid for stuff too. We've paid for some pricing things, and it's really, really helped us fill our calendars, man. So we appreciate all that you're doing for the community.
I'm glad you learned from me about how to use rule sets. Super important.
Love rule sets. Yeah. But go get that course, the rule set one. He killed it in that.
Yeah.
And the pricing course.
Yes.
Well, the pricing one is the rule sets one.
That's rule set.
Oh, sorry. My bad. Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah, it was my favorite thing to teach, right?
Yeah. But yeah, man, thank you for coming on. And as Sean always says, see you on the other side.
Hey, you took him right out of my mouth. Good job.
See you, man. Thank you.
Later, brother.
Yeah.
That was the arbitrage GOAT, Sean Rakidzich. Man, Steve, how you feeling after that one? That was cool, man.
It was surreal, man. I was a little nervous, going into it, because it's the GOAT. It's the guy that we've all been following for years now, right? And he has so much knowledge in this industry. You ask him anything, he has something to say about it, right? And he's been making amazing videos for so many years. Like I said, go check out Airbnb Automated. Sean, and his name, it's on the thing. Go find Sean out there, and you'll be able to. Yeah, I'll say it. Rakidzich. There you go. I wrote it how I could spell it. So spell it how I could. Whatever. I'm off. I'm a little bit off. I'm foggy headed. I'm a little under the weather. So it sucks that it happened on this episode, and we had a little technical glitches, but it's all gonna be worked out in post. But anyways, it was so amazing having him on. It was having a celebrity in our world on our show, the biggest celebrity if you think about it. And oh man, you get so much information from him. I'd love to just pick his brain, just even off the podcast. But I mean, he has so much. He's probably forgotten more about STR than most people ever know.
For real, especially on the Airbnb side. He's been killing it for years. If you don't know, if you haven't been to his YouTube channel and you're in the arbitrage game, you're probably arbitraging wrong. But yeah, definitely go check him out, man. I tried to get him on years ago. I think he was, yes, he was saying like, yeah, he was really watching his brand. So yeah, man, definitely check him out. Good friend of ours let us into his penthouse. Hell, cool dude. So yeah, definitely go check him out. And thank y'all for continuing to listen. And we've been able to bring on some cool guests, and we're gonna continue to bring on some more cool guests.
Here's what real quick. What I'm most impressed about how he's done all this. You know, he built it from the ground up, but he's hired people to run it for him 100%, and that takes a lot of trust in other people. You have this baby, you have this thing making you you have this thing that made you rich. And you're just going to hand over the keys to someone else, and you're going to just do whatever you want to do. If you want to go travel the world, you want to go Burning Man, you want to go whatever, you want to raise a family. Hey, it's not just for people that are single that are just going to want to run around the planet, right? You want to raise your family and then have someone else run the business for you. That takes a lot of courage, man, to figure that out and trust other people to do it all for you. And he's figured it out, and he's teaching everybody else how to do it as well.
Facts, man. I love it, man. And yeah, that's one thing. He actually is the one who gave me the idea. Once I get to a certain number of doors, I am going to pass off the keys, and we're just going to ride it out. You know, we're just going to ride it out after we pass off the keys. So I love that. You know, pass it off and enjoy your life, man. Go to Burning Man. You know, I look at it.
That's what's up, man. Where can people find us, Micah?
Man, you can find us on Instagram, TikTok. Join the Facebook group. I mean, real quick, y'all. I am off social media. That's why
me too.
Hit me up. Yeah, a lot of people have been hitting me up, inbox me. Where you at? I'm off social media right now. I've been taking a real live hiatus, but I'm really taking it just to really get on my hustle. Because you guys know, once I get on my off social media and get in my hustle, I can just be focused. And me and my mahogany are both off. You know, we're focused on buying our real estate, the number of doors we need. We've traveled, went on a kind of a nice little mindset mastermind, really good stuff. So yeah, man. So you can still follow us on Instagram. Me and Steve's Instagrams, I think, are at the bottom. But yeah, follow us and hit the link tree if you need anything from us. Find us on all social media platforms. But you can still interact with the LLTU crew on the Facebook page. They're always posting. So yeah, thank y'all for continuing to follow us, listen to us. And Steve, you have anything else?
Keep living, letting, and thriving, baby.
Let's go. We just gave y'all the GOAT, and we are out.
Peace.
Later.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Live, Let, Thrive. Be sure to tune in next week for all the latest in the world of Airbnb and all that entails. Bye-bye.